Hello and welcome to the Killtocraft podcast. This is episode 45. I am Nessa, also known as Killtocraft on Instagram and Ravelry, and you can check out my blog, which is www.killtocraft.wordpress.com, and I now have the ability to accept donations towards the podcast. This isn't a mandatory thing, but I've decided to create a Ko-fi page, which a lot of people do, or a lot of people also promote Patreons. I decided to do this as a little outlet to help me with things like shipping costs and prizes towards some of the knit-alongs, which me and Twisted Stitches podcast usually tend to host together, and we have done even when I haven't been podcasting, which I didn't for a while due to situation issues and life issues, but now that I'm back and I'm doing them more regularly, I'd like to be able to I'd like to feel a little bit more secure in the fact that I can get things posted to people when they win prizes. The costs of that coming out of my own pocket all of the time is quite expensive. So if you watch the podcast and you enjoy it, although it's not mandatory, it would be really nice and appreciated if you thought about donating maybe a few pounds, which could go towards things like shipping and like prize costs. Sorry, my cat is really distracting. Every episode he's like distracting me. He's now licking a box. He's licking a box. He's licking it again. Can you hear that? I hope you can, because it's disgusting. So back to trying to be professional. So I will put a link in the down bar, and if you do feel like you are able or you would like to support the podcast a little, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Into other podcast news, we have a few knit-alongs. So we have the archive make-along, which is where you pick out a pattern out of your sewing or knitting stash or crochet stash, and it's one that you've had a pattern prior to 2019 and you just want to actually make it and never have yet. And this knit-along is to support you using your archive of patterns. We all at some point buy and hoard them away and don't always take advantage and utilise what we already have, and that's part of this archive along. So remember, that is pretty much anything that uses a pattern into different crafts, but they may be used in other patterns. So maybe with weaving it has a pattern for the weaving you are intending on creating, you can weave. Also, if you have woven a piece of fabric and you are then using it to sew a garment, if you've had that same pattern prior to 2019, it's acceptable. He's now jumping. I start this and then he comes and gets involved and starts being... Hey! Stop it! Get out! No, don't start licking the wheel. Get out! Out! Out, 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 out! Right. Try and cut some of that out. Right. I have kicked out the cat, so hopefully we can do this. 1 second while I itch my eye. Right. Me and Twee of the Twisted Stitches podcast are also hosting the Harvest Hat Along again, which is a annual hat cal that we put out there together. We've done it for the past 4 years running, so if you're a regular you'll kind of know the rules. But basically you can knit any hat pattern that you want, or crochet. One adult hat equals an entry, which means that an entry is one post in the thread, in the finished object thread. And 2 baby, kids, toddler sized hats equal 1 entry, which is a post in the finished object thread, which will get you in to win a prize. So, did you get that? So 1 adult or 2 babies, kids, toddler sized hats equals an entry. Basically there's more rules in the cal thread. I will say that there's definitely no whips allowed for this knit along. We never do whips for this one, mainly because we give you about 1.5 months or 2 months, and that's quite a long time to knit a hat. Even 2 babies' hats is quite a specific good length of time, and you shouldn't really need much more than that to make a hat. If you do, we're sorry. We do like you to double dip wherever you can, so if there are other knit alongs available you can double dip elsewhere. You can double dip in our threads, so if you post in my finished object thread you are very much welcome to also definitely do that in the Twisted Stitches podcast group, if you don't realise that's an option. And then we are also hosting a readathon. Yay! So we are hosting the All Hallows Readathon 2019, and this is kind of just a little bit of a fun, get you all reading, get you all interested in books, a little bit of excitement through the October month. You know, autumn is here, nice cup of tea, nice read of a few pages, and what better month to start a readathon than the month that you can get all the scary, themed, creepy, paranormal-esque books out and delve a little. So, it's one of my favourite months, and I love Halloween and anything Halloween themed. So basically it's just part and parcel of take that and pick books amongst those kind of genres and share them in our reading threads. So both me and Twee of the Twisted Stitches podcast have reading threads. Mine is called the Reading Nook, and you can come over there and start sharing what book or books you intend on reading this month throughout October. It's just a casual readathon where it's nice to get a bit of community together and sharing, and it's fun to have some recommendations. And yes, come over, join in. Also use the hashtag All Hallows Readathon 2019 in Instagram if you want to share your books in a more photographic manner. So, knitting! Yay! We got there. FOs! Yay! I've made one. Finally. It's been a while. So this project has taken me about 2 months. This is my Birds of a Feather shawl. Yay. By Andrea Mowry. Well, it is extremely long. It is taller than me in length. It's a lot longer than me in length. You see, I'm having to hold this extra long section because it won't fit in. But it's mahoosive, and it is amazingly pretty. So I knit this out of Naive, which is this one, Hedgehog Fibres. The chevron sections are done in this peach colour, which is called Granny, which is also Hedgehog Fibres. And then the mohair base And this lovely speckled pink, peachy, purpley number is Fab Funky Fibres, which I got from one of their spontaneous, out of the blue trunk shows, and I absolutely love it. It's really pretty. It's the first shawl I've ever made in pink yarn. And I don't often knit shawls, but I could probably knit another one of these because it's really easy going. I did it while watching a lot of telly, Netflix I think, and it's just really relaxing. Mainly garter stitch with a central decrease and increases on the sides kind of shawl. The only thing that you have to like concentrate on is when you get to the chevron part, which is just a few rows, so it's not too annoying or hard thought, and I love it. Isn't it pretty? So I know lots of people who had been knitting these on other podcasts, and I actually started knitting mine because after seeing, I think it was Wool and Vine and then it was Tracy of Thimble and Thread Make all started theirs, and I'd had this pattern in my pattern stash, so this is also an archive along entry. I had this ever since I got the second issue of Lane and intended on making it, because the whole reason I bought that issue was because of the article and the design by Andrea Mowry, and it had some also other amazing designers in that I also want to make, like Suzanne Sommer, and I think it has, is it Leslie Robinson, who does some of the brioche shawls, is also in there. It had some great designs. So this is one I really enjoyed making. I'd recommend it if you like making shawls and you like garter stitch. It's quite easy going. It is long. It took me 2 months to do. I did maybe about a section a night, and then when it started getting to the really long rows of like 200 stitches, I think I did like half a section a night, but really enjoyed it. Chill out knitting. I wore it at Yarndale and really enjoyed wearing it. The only thing is, which I find with many shawls, is that sometimes they start to shift and this drops. I don't know if anybody else gets that. It drops and it annoys me, and I couldn't quite like keep it near my neck, which I kept having to like tie it underneath and things like that. Don't know. I like things that cuddle my neck. I don't like this big like gappy space. I like them to be a bit more snug and cozy. So this just kept getting like down here, and I think it's because of the weight of the shawl, so I kept having to rearrange. But I think that's just my shawl wearing skills are not there, because I don't often wear them enough, especially after spring summer. I don't wear them in the spring summer at all. It's more winter and autumn time that I get my shawls out on the go. Then into knitting. I've got a few projects, but only a few, because I finished this one, and this was one of my main projects that I've had on the go. I haven't really knit on much else. I've still got my stripy socks that I've been working on. This is just some zigzag, some king hole, and this is, it's a really long number. I'm just going to show you it because I can't be bothered. That's the colour, and I picked these up again last night because I went to the cinema, and from around about here I did all of this in a few hours, so that's not bad going. The only thing is I do normally put in a different colour for the heel, which I then unpick. But because I was in the cinema, I just carried on. So this one I'm going to have to cut. The other one I've got a thread in it, but that's fine. I'm not scared of cutting it in. I'm good with that. As long as I pick up the stitches beforehand, I'm totally happy about cutting some knitting. It just doesn't faze me that much. I love cutting other people's knitting. If you need me to cut knitting, that's fine. Just bring it to me. And then, so I've been working on those. That's just been like an easy travel knitting project. And I've been keeping that in my Glittery Knitter Stitcher Tees project bag. It's one of their cube ones. It's a limited edition one, I believe. Got that earlier in the year. It's a really nice size project bag and I love it. And then I'm also knitting a second pair of socks, which is from, you'll have probably watched my last episode. If you haven't, it's still available to watch in my channel. But I started knitting my bobbins of yarn. Been working on some self-striping. I did half. I do have like some spinning content to discuss about this, but I did do half of it on my drop spindle and then half of it on the wheel. Considerably noticed a big difference because the one that I did on my drop spindle seems a lot thinner, but in a not very nice way. I'm not as happy with the one that I did on the drop spindle, but the one I did on the wheel I really love, and it's turned out really nice and really knittable and strong and just really plump. It feels nicer yarn, and when knitting it, it just comes out nicer. That's the portion I did on my wheel, and I love the stripes. They've come out really great. And then the portion I've done on my drop spindle, you can see, especially in this section, how much thinner some of the yarn is. Not so much in these sections, it's come out quite okay, but in some of the other sections there have been a little bit touch and go, to the point where this colour I actually pulled out of the ball and I decided to knit double because I was in fear that it wasn't going to knit up thick enough. It looks alright now, as you can see, but it was going to be a lot thinner than that and kind of worried me a little bit that it was going to be holey and wasn't going to wear very well. So, but these are my stripy socks. These are my stripy Halloween socks, because on realising when I started knitting these, I picked a project bag. I hadn't fully knitted much. I'd done about this much of both toes. So, and I picked this project bag, which is my Erica Schmerica Friday the 13th Camp Crystal Lake bag, which I absolutely love. It's just a wrist styled bag, so you can carry it around, but the inside is also, it is reversible, and the inside also has little Friday the 13th hockey mask faces. But on using this side, I realised on my walk home one day after getting it out of my backpack to have a rearrange, I realised that all of the colours in this are in the little bag, the project bag. So it's got the greens, the yellows, the blues, the greys, the reds, and I thought, these are definitely my Camp Crystal Lake socks. So these handspun socks are now one of my favourites. They're coming out really nice. Just need to finish this one and then I can start this one. I'm finishing this one first because I was unsure on how much yarn I had, because I had less in this cake to the other one, because I'd done it on the drop spindle. I didn't want to finish it then on wheel because I thought I might get two completely different consistencies and you'd tell when knitting. So I decided to stop because I was at 35 grams and I knew that I can knit a sock out 35 grams perfectly fine. But I wanted to see how far I got in the colour usage and things with one before I go on to the other. And I know that the stripes repeat differently, so the stripes in this one are a lot longer because the yarn is a bit thinner. This one they're a bit shorter because the stripes are thicker, but I have more of this, so I should be able to get them to the same length. But yeah, exciting, because it's interesting how spinning them different can make different knitted product, especially with the stripes differing as well. It's just been a fun, interesting challenge, shall we say. Well, not challenge, it hasn't been difficult, but it's been a learning process, which I like. I like to feel like I'm learning something when I'm doing things. Makes it more exciting. So that's my current Halloween sock knitting. And then I am also knitting, just started it. So in my project bag, this is a project bag that I got fairly recently on a trip to see my partner's family, and we went to their local hobby craft, and they had these little bags in there and they have pockets and things. So I got one because I thought it'd be great to be able to put pins on without worrying that I'm ruining a very expensive bag. And I like a roomy project bag that I can just throw around anywhere. So I started my as if tea today because I actually found the needles that I needed. I needed to sample on my 5mm and thought that I'd misplaced them to these red ones. For some reason I thought they were the black ones and I thought I'd lost them. So I found the black ones and then I was like, these aren't the right size. And after trying all of my random, I have just like normal wooden versions, not the Dreams ones, just the Symphony ones. And after checking all of my loose Symphony ones, thinking I might have a spare set, I figured out that I didn't. And then I realised, wait a minute, I haven't checked my Dreams set. So today when I went back into my holder with them all in, I had a size gauge and found that actually they were in there. Stupid knitting mistake. So about an hour ago I decided to cast on. I'm using my cool new Skull Knit Pro stitch markers, which I won as a part of a raffle at my local knitting group, and they come in this like gold pouch. I saw them on the countertop and realised that there were skulls inside, and I got really excited because I like anything Halloween themed. Look at them. So those are being used to mark my beginning, and I'm using 2 skeins of some yarn that I won that was actually for an Andrea Mowry shawl, but it came out that the yarn that I received actually was slightly short for the pattern, which I'd worked out it was, and then the company also told me that it was short, and that maybe I could just omit some repeats, but in the end I decided just not to do that shawl and save it for something else that eventually might come in handy for. So I have 2 skeins of Horsebelly, which is this beige colour, creamy kind of colour. This is by the Farmer's Daughters Fibres, based in America. And then, so this I'm going to use for the bottom portion. It's a worsted weight think it calls for a worsted weight or Aran. And this is Squish Base, which is her worsted base. And then I have this fluffy gold colourway, which is a Debbie Bliss Angel, and that's going to be for the upper half. And with this being closer to my face, I'm hoping it won't wash me out too much, because this being near my face probably would drain me of all my colour. So I'm hoping this will work out nicely. And I'm doing this as part of the BIPOC Make Along that everybody seems to be joining. Very excited. And then I will be putting this also into Gabby of Once Upon a Corgi's Swan Along, Cal. I'm very excited. One of my friends is also knitting this at the minute, and she's picked like a gorgeous like purpley, grey purpley mauve kind of shade, and it's so pretty. So really looking forward to that. Now that I've started it, it's going to grow, so I'm very excited that I've grown on the needles, because I needed some new projects on the go. I also have other plans, project plans, so I'll share some of those with you. Ooh, if I can grab my skeins of yarn. So I bought these at Walmonty, if you remember. These gorgeous 2 skeins, which were from Black Elephant, and they were both one of a kind. And I'm going to alternate skeins between the 2, so that this will be even distributed between in this. So you'll get, these speckles will be more spaced out, but they'll look really nice. And then I'm using this because it's fabulous, and it goes with the pinks in this one. This colour was Neon Purple, which was by VickiBrown Designs. And then I have some left of this lovely, I think it's Highway Code. This I got from Stranded Dyeworks, and I'm hoping to put those together to create the Half Moon Tea, which is by Dragon Hoard yarns. And I'm looking very much forward to making this. It's going to look amazing. It's got moons in a yoke, and it's like a top, and it's just really cute. I'm hoping I might have enough to do a slightly longer sleeve, but we'll see. Beggars can't be choosers. And then I'm hoping to start a hat in my Black Elephant yarn, which I got from Yarndale. I'm not sure on the pattern yet, but this is a DK weight, and it's a superwash merino. The base is Springy Twist, and it's a one of a kind. It's DK weight, 115 grams, and it's 230, so it's very plump. You can tell because it's got a bit more weight to it, but it's really nice. And so that's my knitting plans. Ooh, I also plan on doing a, is it Alloy hat, which was a pattern in Pom Pom. It's like a brioche hat, just as something easy to knit around in these, which I think were a Debbie Bliss alpaca base. You needed 3 colours, so I think that'll be really cute as a hat. Don't know why I hold them to my head like it's going to make any difference. Anyway, I'm going to take a breath, and then I'm going to share some spinning. And some Coke. I've been spinning some fibre. I'll pop a little picture in so you can see the fibre. And I've been doing 2 samples to see which one I prefer, so that when I spin the main fibre for my socks, I know how they'll look, kind of. So the first sample I did, what I did was I just span, I split off about 13 grams. So I laid out the fibre in 4 lengths, and then I halved one of the lengths and just pulled it off, and that was 13 grams, and I split it in 2 for the 2 samples. And the first one, all I did was I just spun it as it came, and then I chain plied it. So as you can see, there's some neon in there still, but the other colours are quite subtle. Don't know if you can. So like the purples and things, they all kind of blend together, and it makes it quite a subtle looking but cute mini skein. So when I chain plied it, the colours that were like more of a solid colour I plied together, and then the colours that seemed to be a bit more mild, because some sections came out with, say, blue, like here. We've got a little bit of neon and a little bit of pink. They were like mild sections anyway, so those sections that came out mild, I just mild them more by chain plying them with each other, and then when I got to a solid colour again, I chain plied with that solid colour. So it may create some kind of slight stripe, but it'll be a bit more, but when it does, it'll have like a stripe of one colour, marl, stripe of another colour, but it's not really overly intentional, so the patterned stripes might come out different depending on what colour I hit next, things like that. Where it's quite a subtle looking sample. Not knit it yet, obviously, because I'm showing you it, but I intend on knitting it to see how it knits up so that I can have more of a gauge of how it looks in person. The second sample, I split the 7 grams of fibre into 3. I spun them onto 3 separate bobbins, and I did a traditional 3-ply, and it came out like this, which is a little bit more barber poled, a little bit more kind of looks a bit fractal spun, but not, because obviously some of the sections still meet up, and it's brighter, it's a bit more defined because it's getting blown out. Look, there you go, a bit more defined to this one. So where this one is more subtle and tonal, this one is definitely more contrasty, poppy and bright. So it's which do I prefer? Because you can see the major difference even just in the mini skeins that I've made. So these mini skeins are going in my blanket. I am in fact knitting on this project bag that I made a little while ago, and I've just got a few pins on. So I've got my Muggle badge, a little knitting badge that my sister-in-law got me at Christmas, and my Stitch and Witch badge, which I absolutely love. It's one of my faves. And I am knitting on the northeasterly blanket. It's slow progress, guys, don't judge. I haven't knit on this in ages. I'll be leaving it out a bit more now that winter's come, because I reckon if I just need a quick sit and knit kind of project, then I will pick it up. I want to get a bit more of this green colour on here, and I know that these are probably going to be a bit more sport weight, but they will go in my blanket perfectly fine, and they're going in anyway, don't give a damn. So I'm going to put a bit more of this green in. I'm hoping to add this little bit of skein of Handspun that I had left as well into here, but it'll be on this one because of the colours. So I don't know if I start a new row, but they'll be going in to sample and try. That's what blankets are for, right? Use your scraps. try out little plottings of colours and plans. That's what I use my blanket for anyway. So I will be doing that this week. Hopefully I'll get down to that and then I can start plotting what I'm actually going to do with my main leftover fibre for my next sock spin. What's in here? Oh yeah, I have another project that I intend on knitting too. So I've had this yarn for a little while since I made my Sunset Highway, because this was the first grey that I ever picked to do as one of the colours. So I have this, and I have some of the Birthday Cake by Hedgehog Fibres. This is, Shining maybe, or Shiner. It's by Stranded Dyeworks. This is the Birthday Cake colourway by Hedgehog Fibres. And then this one is, this one's by Beth of Beehive Yarns. I love this colour. Even though it's just a really dark midnight navy, the speckles are amazing and the colour is beautiful. So these are going to make me a Vortex shawl, which I plan to make as my next shawl because I haven't got another one in mind. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna look so pretty. Yes, so that's my knitting intentions for the next few months. It's quite a lot actually, isn't it? Hopefully I can get a couple of the sock projects done, get underway with my top, and then I'll be flying, I hope. But anyway, so that's that. I don't think I've got any other things to chat about. I have done another video which will be up soon. It might be up before this one is, but I'll be editing that one, but it'll be on my trip to Yarndale. I had a lovely time. I spent my day with Ellie of Skeindeer. I'm sure a lot of you already follow Ellie. She's a wonderful designer of the Norwegian persuasion. Hey Ellie. So we had a wonderful day together and we went around chatting to all the yarny creators, dyers, makers, and that was really fabulous. And then afterwards we made our way into Skipton town. We found a little pub and we got some pub dinner together and chatted, and we didn't really do much knitting actually. Yeah, we didn't. We had intended on knitting together but we had a really great time catching up because we haven't seen each other for about 2 years and we've promised that that will not happen again. We are hoping to see each other next year at some point, whether we meet up halfway between ourselves or we find somewhere to hang out together. So, but it's happening. So we had a great time, and if you want to know what I got and what I purchased from the Yarndale, please check out my little haul video. I didn't do any vlogging while I was there. I did take a few pictures though, so I may pop them at the end of both videos, so those who want to see what I kind of was looking at and what I saw throughout my day, I'll pop a few pictures in at the end. But unfortunately I didn't get one of me and Ellie, which I felt was really stupid. We spent all our day together, we didn't even take a picture. Although I'm glad because I kind of got a few spots, so probably best that nobody wanted to see that. Being out in the country, I didn't really think about taking makeup with me, which was a big, massive shame. They just took all the knitting things, but nothing else. Anyway, I'm babbling now. But if you want to come over to our Ravelry group and you can join in the make along and knit along that are happening and our readathon over the next month, which would be really nice to see you. And I will be doing at some point a prize video. to draw the last 3/4 of the archive along before the big final quarter is drawn, just so that it's done and posted. So please know that that is coming down in the pipeline. Just need to prepare what prizes are for what. And I have drawn names and winners, so they are just kept aside waiting. So I will do a separate archive along quarter 1, 2 and 3 video at some point soon and put that out there, and so that I can get the prizes out to you all. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you come over and have a chat about what you're making, maybe what your winter plans are. I'd like to hear. It'd be great to see what you're up to. And yeah, see you soon. Bye.